And so here now we have this, this invitation from the field itself, from spirit, from the inner friend, from within the very center of the mandala and the alchemical vessel, which also has its own center point, to slow down and to open to what it might truly feel like to play again, to explore from that place of beginner's mind, from that place of not knowing. I don't really know who and what I am. I don't know what this life is. I don't really know what a relationship is, what love is, what God is, what the divine is, what the beloved is. And here we are. To the vast creativity that arises in and from that, from abiding in that. And to begin to reopen to those natural, organic states of awe, of wonder, and of that simple joy that's inherent in a few moments, in just a few moments of just being who and what I already am, without having to turn my life into some seemingly unending self-improvement project. I don't know if you're familiar with that. That while, of course, we can hold an intention, it's intelligent and kind to have that intention to improve our lives and our relationships, our life circumstances, our sense of self, while simultaneously to spend some time each day, in these less structured experiences, ones that aren't oriented in improvement, in getting to a different experience. And maybe for us, that's some way of being out in nature or writing down our dreams and paying attention to our inner images and fantasies over 90 days, or doing some type of yoga or meditation or prayer or shamanic work or whatever that might be for us. Writing, painting, putting our hands in some clay or some sand. I really recommend that. Swimming in the ocean. And so this in-between place that we find ourselves in, that place of liminality, or what Winnicott calls transitional space, where it can feel a bit shaky and uncertain. It's not easy to find center and to find ground here, is it? To find a real reference point. I mean, the reality for so many of us, it seems, is that something has actually fallen away. The type of work I'm doing, the person who is always supposed to be there by my side, a physical body that was never supposed to get ill or start to break down or hurt or ache, a psyche that was never supposed to feel anxiety or depression, or what it was that I always thought that would provide me with a sense of meaning in my life. A spiritual community or a group that just crumbled around me. A world that is seemingly going a bit mad. The death of loved ones around us, as well as the looming uncertainty of our own death. It's just a way that the rug can get pulled out from underneath us. That alchemical doorway swings wide open. It really is like some old dream has died. The dream of me and my life and the way that I was so sure that it was going to turn out, the way it was supposed to turn out. Something's fallen away. Something that was once so sure that I could count on, that I was able to organize my life around. Even my friends, my family, the things that I used to enjoy doing. what it was that brought me meaning or joy or a sense of contentment or peace or accomplishment, somehow no longer accessible for some of us, no longer relevant. And it's so very human, of course, to want to get through the uncertainty, to reestablish that sense of ground, to get out of that liminal middle period of not knowing, to escape that groundlessness, to heal, to transform, to awaken. It's all really understandable. And from a more alchemical perspective, there is a way that we're being asked just to not rush that process, to allow it to mature and to ripen, to stay in the uncertainty for a while and to allow it to marinate us, to somehow stay embodied to the dissolution, which is an alchemical process, that of dissolving. Because there's something in the falling itself apart, the falling it apart in and of itself that is equally holy, that has something to offer that clarity and certainty will never be able to provide us. This is where the process of grief or embodied lamentation, embodied mourning is so vital, which is something in many ways, again, we've lost contact with in our world, where there's such an emphasis on rushing to the next thing. I don't have time for that. I can just move on, to rise above it, to transcend it. There's got to be some visualization or meditation or manifestation exercise I can do, something, anything, to not have to turn toward the broken and the shattered, and to create a sanctuary and safe passage for the lost orphans of Psyche and Soma to return into and be illuminated and held and released, liberated in a way that's embodied, conscious, compassionate, and grounded, where it's not premature, which will only lead to deeper shadow, deeper dissociation, deeper disembodiment. And this tending to grief and to what we call the unlived life more generally, emotional and somatic experience that we've not been able to truly contact and hold and liberate, and for that to be transformed, is one of the core elements, the way I see it, on the path of the alchemist, which is our path. To take that time and space each day and really slow down as alchemists of our own lives and go into the laboratory, close the door, and listen, to feel, to sense, to re-embody and turn toward that which is unlived within us, to really to shine a light into the shadow. In the words of Carl Jung, enlightenment is not a process of imagining figures of light, but of making the darkness conscious. And despite the sound and the ring of that, this making the darkness conscious is, in my experience, the activity of love, of a radical love that longs to know the totality, to know spirit and all of its manifestations, and to be a vehicle or a vessel in which that spirit or God or the divine or the beloved can come fully alive here. I know it's not easy. It's likely to ache and to burn and to tenderize us, to take us to dust. as we turn back toward the abandoned, the marginalized, the disowned aspects of ourselves, personally, culturally, collectively, and even to turn back toward the dead, to the ancestors, to open a direct communication with all of the lost children, the scattered orphans of Psyche and Soma in all of their forms.